So this is the longest video I've ever made because I couldn't find information on the tailgate, and I hope it's of some purpose if you're putting yours back together. So a probably lengthy video on reinstallation of all the parts and pieces on a 123 tailgate after I reassembled mine after paint, and I wanted to demonstrate all the pieces that went into this reassembly and how I've done this. So including all the interior trims, liners, how I had it reupholstered, trim pieces that maybe are missing on some of the cars, and all the little nuances that help put these tailgates back together, because there's quite a lot to them, from the locking mechanisms to the spray nozzles to where the hoses go. And I've bought quite a few pieces which are still thankfully available, whether they be spray nozzles or new wiper blades, new badges, and how the locking mechanisms go together. So I'll show you how that's all gone together. So making life easier is having another car which you can use as a template. So here's the yellow 280 TE tailgate. So here's our stripped door panel, and there is our intact seal, looking good. Brand new factory rear seal. The doors stay up. I need to put the struts back in. I only just fit these before I sent the car off for paint. I just wanted a project. So they've got the new in-hex bolts and attachments, so we might start with them. Getting the struts in to hold up the door. Already made a video on this, doing up the struts. Boot to stay up with the struts is good, but unfortunately the paint is thicker than what some of the things were, so the alignment won't look good if it's not lined up. And the most important one I actually think is the closure. If it's not lined up, it won't grab properly. Now, there are 4 areas of adjustment that I can see. Firstly are the hinges on each side. There'll be a little bit of play in them. Adjusting them will scratch up your paint, so hopefully the paint job's done that nicely. Then you've got the 3 internal ones. Well, actually now I just spotted an additional one. The lock mechanism doesn't have much play in it. I've put that in myself. There's not really much room to get that wrong. Then there's the 3 internals. The first one is the latch. Now this has a number of spaces, and there's 2 types. This is another donor cast setup. You've got the complete spacer versus the cutout. The cutouts face outwards. I've actually just taken one set out, and it seems to be better. Now I would put them on and adjust that first without the other 2 on. You've got the ones on the side which basically just receive the ones that are going to go up here. Leaving them on while you're adjusting that should make a difference, because they will not strike. However, the next one may alter your closure if they're not aligned. So if you know you've got that right, then you can move on to these. These factory-wise were covered in this sort of rubber material, which has obviously perished with time. I'm going to polish these up, so at least they look like shiny metal like those ones I've already cleaned up. But where I've got my tailgate to now is that point. It's not like a 124 with a self-closing latch. I'm pretty happy with that, and I think it'll get even better when all the trim's on and a bit more weight's in the door. So I've just given that a little bit of a clean up. There was part of the rubber on there. I've taken it off. It looks better all off. Now these have spacers as well. Was that harder? So as you gradually work through them, now I'm onto the right side, which has still got the rubber over the metal lock or guide, and putting that one on seems to be alright with the 3 shims in there. Now at this point I'm happy to put on the model badge, which I ordered online. I couldn't get it from the dealer. The model badge sits in 3 grommets with friction fit, and you'll see the part numbers in a sec. After paint, there was too much of it on there, so I've just gently got a bit off. Careful not to take too much off, or put some rust protection on that. You can see my son's just popping another one in, and then the badge is going to be fit. Now the badge looks great being new, however the problem with fitment is that the friction fit is so tight it's actually really difficult to get it flush down against the grommets. Now be careful, because if you press too hard you can flex the bodywork, which isn't going to dent, but it was a difficult task to get that flush, and even at the end of the pick, I don't have a picture of it sitting perfectly flush. So we're just going to have a look at the trim pieces now. There's 3 pieces like the black vinyl that go along the door here. There's one that goes along here, and then there's one each side. Now these ones don't actually clip into these segments. They look like they do. I've got 2 of the pieces off, and you can see they're actually just adhered on with glue. For example, this is the left side, and you can see how that one's just going to go like that. So that one's come off nicely, thankfully, and actually the upper segment, I think that goes underneath the other 2. And then I've got to get this final one off here. Now they don't clip into that once again, so let's go and get the other one off. So the poor old donor tailgate, and you can see where I've taken off this side and the upper segment, and here's our final segment. Now they go underneath the door seal. They're just glued on. Now getting these off is a little bit awkward, so let's have a look. So you can see after that's sort of, the trim piece must cover the lower end to there. I think I've cut that so it just fits a bit better. Now these things will probably be toast on most cars in Australia because they're so cooked, if they're even present. So getting these off, I was kind of lucky that they didn't actually just split in half due to sun damage in our sunny climate, but off it comes intact and now ready to adhere on with the other 2 sides. So it's time to get your adhesive spray and cover up the paint and secure this thing down. If you're wondering where your clothesline pegs go, this is it. So you can see how it fits around the edge. That'll be covered by the window seal. So that's probably actually not that important. This is the important edge down the side because that's the visible bit now. So for the glass installation, this should only be done by a professional with experience in these cars, as they will bend your trim and cause damage.
Is it right on that side?
It'll make it easy. Yeah. See there? Cool.
A little bit of lube in there. Make sure, actually, let's see the angle on that one.
That's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No, these are. If you
I
know
thought
how
I was
do
going to
them-
bend.
No, as long as you lube it up and you know,
Yep.
and normally you can see if it's not popped in, there's a reason, so you got to manoeuvre it a bit more and
Makes me feel much better.
yeah.
Like I said, I've only got half of this one new, but that one looked all right.
So that hasn't gone in there. Okay, so that's better. Not in the corner though. That's better now. that trim. Yeah, okay. I've got to fix that in a second. Right, this side here.
Now there's a demister on both sides of the bottom of the window. Just fold that over and put the Phillips screw in. One side is actually, you can see the lower edge there. One side's actually larger than the other. And you can see, I can see the outline stain, which almost fits the... There we go. Thank you. So there we go. We're going to just tidy that up. So I am jumping around a bit, but you'll see the wiper motor sticking through now, and it sits in there with a watertight seal before the blades go on. We'll click. Nice. A strip down door, which will now show me how to put the rear view wiper on, central locking on, the door handle on. We're ready to put a few things in there already, get the locks, the latches, some levers, and we're going to get going. Now this trim piece, there to go through there for the net carrier, yet they're not on the black trim. So these don't actually have them. There's no spot, and I think they're the screws where they went, or they are there. So there we are, there on the boot, upside down. I've got the lock mechanism. There's the handle that's going to go there. The latch underneath is going to come here, and it's supposed to close down onto the lock down there. Now what we can see over here is basically, that is how it's going to be. It's like that. There's the two bolts, there's the latch, there's the lock mechanism up there, which you can see how that goes like so, and this must be attached to the handle somehow. So we've got our vacuum lock pod over there, and that's what we've got for our lock mechanism here, which does have a part number 123 740 0635 by the look of it. Cleaned up the lock because there was a lot of rubbish on it. It looks like it's almost had the schutz or whatever it's called, the underspray coating sprayed on a lot of areas. Now interestingly, on this lock there, it looks like there's an electrical connector. I don't know what that's for on the actual door lock, but I've cleaned it up. Now I don't know what that does, but that's coming off the harness, and that's going to connect onto that one there. Reality, when you're putting that lock in, you just think you're going to slot it in through one of those gaps. No, you have to put it in through the side here, this one, and then get it nice and low. You can't actually fit it between there and there, so I actually put it in the final square, slide it all the way down parallel, like so, and then rotate it up. And once it's in, the pin for your door lock is going to come out on the left side through that little oval there, and then you thread on the lock handle. Under the invisibles, but now we've got a little bracket here secured by two 8mm bolts. You can see
that bracket is up there. So when you pull it off, you'll know there's a small floppy bit. That's going up as a base for the wiper motor. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that. One bolt's just sliding underneath the nut for the, where is it? I'm just going to put this one in here now, which is a bit messy, but it's just a schmutz and it's not seen, so I'm happy enough. Doesn't have any mechanical function. There was a, you see the clip is on. Yeah, all that crap's there. I cleaned it off down near the lock mechanism. But you can see the clip does go on. Now, the wire goes above the little bracket. You'll know what I'm talking about. This bracket here, the wire is above it near the window edge. I've got to get the ties on here in these places to secure it down. Tailgate, this is the left side, that's the right side, because it's just flipped over. So on the left side, you have one on the outside going through the top hole, one on the underside in the small hole, one in the middle in the small hole, and then you've got one here and one there. So let's get these ones off and use them. Stolen from the rich to give to the poor. So the plastic tabs securing things have all been taken off from the donor wagon, secured on. I'm just about to crank them down after just checking they're all right. But otherwise, lock's now secure with 2 10s, 2 10s, 1 10, and I'm about to put on the little lever handle, which, you know, this is the quality of the 123. You know, Ben's logo embossed in there. This is metal. It's not plastic. I've just auto-sold that. That's going to come up a treat. Now here I was looking at the logo, and I'm so old and blind now, I couldn't even see they've embossed the part number in there. 123766043. Now that slot is what this is going to just glide into. This is just engineering at its greatest. See, now that slot in there, without even the screw in, it's pretty stable, but they're really, you know, that's not just poorly screwed in there to snap off. People thought about these things. It's now on there, ready to do its part, but that does spin me out a bit. It doesn't sit bang in the center. Here I am just waffling on about the quality. Why is that not symmetrical? So this bracket's now going to attach the two arms of this lever to the main lock in there. So these two are going to connect through a bit of awkward magic. You can see this one here. You could plastic tie them, but that's just been poor. Luckily I have the spare door because that one's been lost. You can see it's on there. That's really hard to get on. Now I can put it back together. I had to take it all off. I was just thinking I could powder coat this black frame, but it's actually not so bad. I reckon it's going to clean up all right. So I might disassemble this and see what it looks like after a bit of a clean, rather than sending it off to the powder coaters, because all of that, the top half is covered by the strip.
So you can see on the body panel now where this locking mechanism is going to fit externally, with recesses for the lock and the two downlights for the number plate.
The part, that's how you can change the barrel. A couple of locks there, or bolts to get that off. And then we might give that a bit of a scrub and have a look. So they've come up pretty well with just a bit of a detergent and scrubbing. I've cleaned up the lock and put a bit of WD-40 on the back of it. You can see the seals, which are no longer available. I've just separated that off, and there's the part number for what it's worth. And on this one, 123740193, I believe. Looks like Hella. There you go. Light shields, which now can be mounted. You need the external lock on, because that's part of the mounting hardware. So you can see just a single 8mm bolt is about to go in, and they'll slide over the channel and sit there and just stop water ingress and give the light something to reflect against. So we're going to put one each side there. Driver's one's not going to be so bad, but jeepers, getting the old passenger side on is a bit awkward because you've got to go through here and it's not a Phillips, so you can't balance it on the ratchet, the 8mm. Now the wire is just sliding in from the side. There's enough room that you don't need to worry about it being too tight. Up there, so you can see there's the 8. Wire's just loosely under there. Over the top, you'll see the wires coming out, getting ready. And that's the first guard in. So let's get the easy one on the driver's side now, the right side. And there we go for the driver's side, which is now up there. And if we take the door down, see our wires are out. I'm going to clean up the lamps to go on there. The rear lamps, which go above your tail lights up here and here, I don't think they're actually available, despite the fact they're not a particularly complicated part. So all it takes on the bottom is 20 seconds with a toothbrush and some water compared to the top one, and that should look infinitely better. 1238200062. There's the old MB part number. Looks like 5 watts, is it? Next to that for the lamp. Same part number if you could have got them. They're hella parts. So I'm going to put the rear tail trim on. Now I did make an error and put all the grommets in first. You actually only need 2 grommets on the far outer edges. The rest are screwed in, which I'll show you. So you'll see I've put those grommets in inadvertently. There's actually only the 6 bolts in the middle sections, and although I've only pointed to 5, there's actually 6 of these things here, which are a little bit awkward to get hold to. Going to them on the back. So as per that diagram, you actually only need these clips in the outer limit of each side, one on each outer side. The internal or medial 6 do not need them because the screws go into the trim piece. So I actually needed to take these out after I put them in. That was an error. There's no clips in them, they're not needed. Now we have our 6. So you can see we're up here. We've got right side 1, right side 2, right side 3 goes through there, right side 4 goes through there, right side 5 is hidden up under the cable, right side 6. Jump. The outer 2 are just pushed in after I've removed those white clips. And there we go, looking slick. So there's no gaps. Got to give it a wipe down again. In fact, the clips are actually the worst looking bit of the lot. Moving on to the badge, which is just a 13mm bolt on the back here, which we're going to access through the center. Bring it over. Here's the old one, the 13. Just gently spin it. Oh, that's looking good, isn't it? As long as it's straight. You can see it just in there. All good now. Looking better at the back. Now we might put this on. So there's the nozzle, which again, pull that out there. So there's the nozzle with a washer and a securing screw. Pull the tape off here where the paint was. Now, I didn't put a picture in, but the washer pump hose runs from the recess of the right side up the C pillar, along the roof to the D pillar, and then it goes through the conduit next to the right hinge before running through the roof to here. So I've got the screw tightened up in there. Nice. Brand new washer. The motor has two long 10s and a short 10 for the internal bracket. And you can see the two long 10s. Now this area here, I just noticed on mine, the little bracket that's going to sit in, that's got a rubber grommet. You'll see where this goes in just a sec. So a little rubber grommet that the washer pump has to actually slide onto. So I need to put this, if I'm looking from the top, it's going to slide up into that. You can see where that is. And if we look from the bottom end, here's the edge, second window. See it there? I'm just about to put this through to secure it from the other side. See, now in. Ready to get that thing. I've had to take off that little metal frame I'd already put on because I couldn't tighten that from the side. So I've taken the little number plate. So you can see the wiper motor is now in, and there's 3 bolts effectively holding it in. 2 are easily accessible. The third one is on that bracket, which is now being placed. The final securing the pin you can see down there, there's the wiring harness not yet attached. So that little locator lug sits into the bracket with the damping grommet. I'm not sure why that's actually needed by design, but they're the 4 pieces to attach your wiper motor, and we'll get the harness attached afterwards. You can see the wiring harness for one of the lights there. There's that bracket mounted from the bottom. So it's time to put all the interior trim on now, which is great. So the carpeted bit just clips on. This is new carpet. Luckily I had a donor black piece for over the handle, which has a single Phillips screw going into it, and you put that in with the lever held up. You could paint another one alternatively, and I think flat is a better colour, certainly than gloss, and even satin, which I did try on other pieces. Now we've got to put the base plastic on after this, and the vinyl recovered trim along the base of the window, and you'll see this in just a second. So there's the base plastic going on, held in with multiple flat-headed flange screws. They are the original screws. You can no longer purchase the originals after inquiry. This is an example of the original car. There's the part number. I could have painted that black, but luckily I had a donor. Again, a donor wagon has infinite benefits here. Now for the upper piece, I've had this revinyled by the trimmer. That's the black plastic piece which goes on around the washer motor at the top, which you'll see in a second.
So it's time to put the tailgate lip on. This is kind of difficult. There's supposed to be 6 screws. I've had mine revinyled, which had a few hiccups, meaning this piece in particular was hard to get on. That's been rectified. Now the 6 screws, when you've had it revinyled, you're not going to have holes, so punch through there. And the screw hole heads are very small on the metal. Now what I'm doing is I'm using screws that may be larger. You can't buy these ones new anymore, I've checked. And then I'm punching a hole through using a larger screw, and it's just engaging at the head. They're quite short. These are about 1 centimetre in length. So I've repainted my brackets, which I'm going to put on in a sec, but I think we're making slow progress here.
So these were the original Palomino bracket surrounds, and I've just put a few coats of black paint as I didn't have them on the black donor car because there was no fitting for the net.
So I've painted the beige clips now, and they can go into these sites here where the retractable latch goes.
And that is the end of the tailgate, which I'm hoping is ready. I've got to test the electricals like the wiper motor and rear lights, but otherwise that's the rear end of the wagon done, and time to move on to the next step.